Everyone, Justin the Gaming here. I know I'm a bit late to the NHL 16 news party since I wasn't home for a few days, but I do have NugeTV from the GameChangers program here to help clarify some of the EA statements, and I'll ask him some questions that I haven't really seen anywhere else, which he can hopefully answer. Nuge, thanks for taking the time out of your day to help myself and the NHL community out.
No problem, man. I'm happy to be here.
So I've taken some screenshots directly from the EA site. We're going to go with things that mainly affect gameplay or EASHL in general, since that is what we play. I want to start off with my own question first. I play goalie. Out of all the news that I've seen, skaters once again get all the love. Have you had a chance to play goalie? Because remember, goalies are people too.
I personally didn't get to play goalie. I know multiple people there did get to play the goalie position. It is playable. Obviously, we've heard that. I can't talk much else about it, unfortunately, but there will be news to come.
There's one thing I'm hoping you can answer, because I mean everyone's annoyed by it. Are they trying things for goalie interference of people skating out of the net?
Yeah, so it was still in the alpha build where there was quite a bit of goalie interference. Basically, they know it's an issue. They're trying to fix it, and hopefully in the near future it will be fixed. Hopefully by the time the game's actually out.
All right, so we got something out of it. And they're working on it, so at least I can take that.
Yeah.
Another thing I can assume, just based on the first picture here, specialized player classes. No more hours spent tweaking the builds. I know Freak hates that now. His life is ruined. But player classes sounds very MOBA-ish, like League of Legends and Dota. I have a bit mixed feelings about this, but what do you think about specialized player classes?
When I first heard about it, it wasn't something I was like, yes, this is awesome, this is what I want. But I do understand where they're coming from, and as I've obviously known about this since January when we first went with the GameChangers committee, and as the time has gone by, it's grown on me a lot. I really think this is the way to go. Basically, you pick a playmaker, everyone else in the world that uses playmaker will have the exact same build as you. I'm not sure about height and weight yet, if that's going to be customizable, but I think it's the right way to go. It takes out the excuses that a lot of people have, like with builds or cards or whatever. It also makes it so the game can be played on a more competitive level without the things that people consider exploits within builds. Personally, I never saw that as a huge issue, and I would be okay with a system where everyone just started with like a Legend 3 card, or even like a Superstar 3 card, and there isn't any growth beyond that. Because the real benefit of this is there's no more grind. You can get the game at Christmas and you can play. You can get the game in March and you can play and not have to deal with people being super overpowered compared to you.
And in my list of pros and cons that I wrote, that was the number one pro. No more grind to Legend 3. I mean, what was it, 350 games?
Yeah, it was 350 games, and now we don't have to do that. And the worst part about that is you had the half of the community, let's say, that would get the game right away and spend time boosting rather than playing the actual game so they could have their cards. And the other half of the community is spending the time just playing the game. So at first they're only playing against people that are around their card level, and then the guys who are boosting decide to start playing, and you're matching up with like Legend 2s in September. It's ridiculous.
Not fun. It's not fun at all.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I think it helps. I don't want to say casual players, but people that maybe mainly focus on HUT, or maybe younger players that get the game on Christmas. Once they pick it up, once they start EASHL, they're on the level playing field with everyone else, and I think that does help grow the EASHL community. And we're tiny enough as it is compared to HUT, so anything that can help grow those numbers, I'll take it.
Yeah, so this is kind of my personal opinion on it. Basically, you have guys that only really play offline that might have internet connections but don't dive into it too much. You have the HUT guys, you have the Versus guys, and with ESHL 1 now being on the main menu, I don't know if you noticed that, and 2 being an even playing field, you don't have to put the grind in. It opens up to people finding it at any point during the year, and I think we all know that 6v6 and all of ESHL is the most fun way to play the game. At least
I love it.
it seems like most people that do try it out.
So I did say I had mixed feelings about this. The things that I'm worried about is that it takes control out of the player's hands, less customized. You can't make it your guy, which people want it to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we compared it to League of Legends and Dota before. I know you're a big Counter-Strike player. It's the equivalent of the pistol round. But the only thing is, the pistol round is only for one round. At some point, you're going to get to pick the guns that you want. But Seems like everyone's stuck at that one point.
Well,
I'm worried about less variety. I mean, there's only going to be a handful of classes for like forward, defense, and goalies. I'm worried about an overpowered class. But what do you think?
well, for the Counter-Strike example, regardless of the pistol round or whatever, at any given point during a Counter-Strike game, for the most part, you're seeing 4 AKs or 4 M4s in a full buy and 1 op. That's 2 classes, essentially. So we have more than that. Assuming they're balanced correctly, you will have more classes that are useful. And Counter-Strike, a lot of people might not play it, but basically that's probably it's the most competitive first-person shooter and one of the most competitive games out there right now. The pro scene for that is getting crazy big right now. So I'm not really thinking ESHL is ever going to go down that road. Hopefully it does get to the point where there are competitive things going on, tournaments, but it won't get to that level, obviously. So, on the one hand, I like it because that's obviously a good thing. But like you said, taking control out of the player's hands, customizing your guy is something that my teammates really like to do. I know you mentioned Freak earlier. He lives for that stuff. But for me, I think it is a step in the right direction to take control out of the player's hands a little bit. And I could see maybe, like I said earlier, give people a Superstar 3, and they can put points on once the game is balanced, so not for NHL 60, but once they can work on balancing it a little bit more. And you get to customize your guy still, but there's still that no grind. The grind is the thing that needed to go more than anything.
Definitely. Out of all the pros and cons, I guess I'm more for it, but I don't think it's the answer. I think it's good for the short term to help increase EASHL, but in the long run, I do think there needs to be a mix of what we currently have versus what they're going to have.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. I think this year is going to be kind of a learning year. They're trying something completely different. They're obviously getting multitudes of different responses from people. There's the people who love it, there's the people who hate it, and then there's the guys in between. I'd say we're both in between. I'm more for it than you are, but I think we're both still in kind of that in-between area.
Yeah.
So as they're learning, I think they'll be able to create an even better system.
So the second picture I have from the EA site is about online team play. I heard you guys are very vocal about bringing your online pro to private lobbies for the Sixes League, so thank you very much for that. But I am worried that it says real-world NHL rosters for drop-ins. And I think that this could actually hurt EASHL, because maybe a lot of new players are going to be used to playing with Patrick Kane and Sidney Crosby's instead of their average pro. So what do you think of that assessment?
So the drop-in system, I think, based on what they're saying here, is basically exactly what OTP is right now on Next Gen. So they have that already built. They just said, okay, let's put this in the game, and then we can start working on the next thing. And if we can get it done in time, we'll have the OTP lobby with created pros or drop-ins with created pros or something with created pros as well, in addition to ESHL. And like you said, we were very vocal about needing some sort of system where we could use our created pros in lobbies or in some sort of private game that is outside of EASHL for Sixes Leagues.
So hopefully it works out. Next up is complete control from every position. What caught my eye was players have new tools not only to score goals, but to prevent them as well. You play defense, I play goalie. I think we both love it when we can prevent goals as much as possible. As each edition of NHL passes, there seems to be a sway of offensively focused versus defensively focused. Compared to 15, in your short time playing the pre-alpha version, which group, offense or defense, did 6-team seem to help?
So this might be a little bit of a cop-out answer, but the biggest improvement I saw was passing, which does help both sides. For me, breakout passes are the biggest part of defense. Just it changes the game when you have a defenseman who can break the puck out well. And I felt on Next Gen, breakouts were just useless because the passing was so bad. I think the improvement to passing helps both offense and defense. And then the new tools that you're going to see in the game for defense aren't that noticeable. There's a couple skating things that I think we're about to talk about later. But overall, the biggest thing was passing, which does help both sides of the puck.
Let me tell you, when you have a defenseman that can bring the puck up by themselves or just help the breakout pass in general, it's almost like a fourth forward. It makes it so much easier.
Yep.
Now we have precision skating, which has existed before. Since precision skating already exists, the idea of a new skating tool caught my eye. Did you notice anything different about skating when you were in Vancouver? Did it feel different skating in 16 compared to 15?
So with the balancing we did with the builds, we tried to make it so the skating felt as realistic as possible, where we felt like when you had super high speeds, like Matt Duchene type speeds, or even like your Jarrett Stoll, who has like 90 speed, if people don't know that, it felt like you were able to get going too quickly, and turning at that speed was just way too difficult. So with the tuning we did, we got the skating to feel a lot better, in my opinion. Then also there's a little bit of a new tool with the, I forget exactly what they called it, but it's like strafing kind of, where in the defensive zone or the offensive zone, if you are standing still, you can hop one way or the other with one tap of the left stick one way or the other way. And you can do like a double tap to get a bigger hop, and it's helpful for going from passing lane to passing lane without having to turn, skate, stop, and then reset yourself. And it's also good in the offensive zone to set up for one-timers, so you can be winding up like a manual one-timer, and instead of being like stuck in that position, you can jump one way or the other to try to open up a new passing lane.
Okay, I see. Oh, that could be useful. Yep. We'll see how that goes. Probably have to see it myself to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of a new thing.
Yeah, there's always an adjustment period when it comes to new games.
Yep.
All right, so now we have seamless pickups. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but from what I've read from the other GameChangers, I heard this was something you guys gave a lot of feedback on. What are they trying to fix when it comes to picking up the puck?
So one issue that I've felt the NHL games have had since previous gen is pickups are too almost static, like where you know, if you're a defenseman, you know exactly where the forward is going to have to default with the puck as soon as they pick it up. And also, the way the pickups worked before, basically when the puck was near you, it would just like trigger a pickup no matter what. So if you have to reach behind you, even though the puck was still moving fast enough that you could catch it in stride, you'd still reach for it. They're trying to make it so the pickups are more contextual. So if the puck's moving fast enough that you can just skate full speed and pick it up, you won't reach back for it and have to change directions. There's obviously still some issues with it because this is a completely new thing that they've been building, like having completely different puck pickups based on situations. But when it did work, it felt really good. When it didn't, it felt kind of awkward, but you also had the awkward pickups in the past too, so I don't know if it was necessarily worse when it didn't work well, but it was definitely better when it did.
Oh, I hate that when your guy reaches back or you get like a weird warp animation and it ends up causing an offsides.
Yeah, you either get an offsides or you're ready to take an easy shot and your guy reaches way out for the puck instead of waiting for it to come to him, and then you get like a one-handed shot. There's issues with the old pickup system and they're trying to address it.
Alright, so that's me. That's all the ESHL. It's all the gameplay stuff. Let's get to the really important stuff. Nuge, what playoff beard are you going to rock?
I'm probably going to avoid it. I can't really grow a great beard in real life, and I don't want to feel inadequate when looking at my player on the screen.
Inadequate. You're probably going to feel inadequate looking at all the other beards.
Well, maybe, but that's not my problem.
Alright, so what about the other things? The visual on ice, coach co-op, GM morale. Which one of those just personally interests you the most?
The visual on ice training is kind of cool. I know the main mode they want to use it in is Be a Pro, where you're obviously just controlling your guy and it's offline, which hopefully you take those Be a Pro players, they really enjoy that. Be a Pro has been revamped a little bit as a whole, and if they really enjoy that, maybe they'll be more confident taking their skills online when they've been able to learn some different things with passing, where to shoot, and stuff like that.
Alright, so for myself, I liked couch co-op. I have a younger cousin who we always want to, if I'm at his house, he wants to play, so the fact that couch co-op is back, definitely that's a big plus, I guess, for me personally. GM morale, I used to play a lot of GM. I didn't play it a lot in 15. I'm curious to see how this morale thing works. Is it going to happen every single season? That could be annoying, but the fact that, players might not get along, or maybe they will get along and that helps boost your production, that could be interesting to see.
Yeah, from what I saw, the system seems to be pretty cool. The example they kept using was Henrik and Daniel Sedin. Like, if you traded one of them, they would both probably become unhappy, one for the new team and one for if you're controlling the Canucks. We also saw with people like stripping captaincies from people, they would get like really angry. You have like a certain overall player playing on a line below where he should be, he won't be happy with it, and he'll talk to you about it, try to change it, and if nothing happens, he will be on his way out. He will not want to stay, and I think his production will be hindered by his morale as well. So there's definitely a lot of cool things they can do with it. it's a really cool step in the right direction for GM mode. It's something that they haven't seen before. A lot of the criticism people are giving to a lot of this new stuff is that it's just stuff that was in 15 on previous gen or 14 on previous gen, whereas that's a completely new thing. The visual on ice training is a completely new thing, and I think it's all definitely something that I can get behind going forward.
I think the big thing we need to remember is for online gameplay ESHL, it might be the second year on next gen, but it's really its first year for all these modes. So I'm not looking for it to be perfect right off the bat. I'm gonna have probably higher expectations come for NHL 17. If there's gonna be a learning curve for not just us, but just for these programmers in general.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one of the main things with the GameChangers committee is we're all pretty knowledgeable about the game itself. We obviously don't know the programming behind it, but when they ask us a question, when we're discussing stuff, we have a lot of experience with the game when we felt it was the most fun, when we felt it was the most competitive, when we felt what were the failures of the previous games, what are things that can be improved upon. So when we're discussing it with them, we can get a lot of good stuff going. Obviously, the programming can sometimes limit what can actually happen, but I think the discussions are really good. We're in a Skype chat all the time talking to the programmers, and when we do get to go test the game, when we test the game, we can obviously show them in real time, like, this shouldn't happen. I'm really happy that this stuff happens, and I don't know, it was a pretty cool experience for us, and I think we are also really helping them out.
Let me tell you, I'm jealous, but I'll have my fingers crossed for the next time they do voting.
Yeah, hopefully they'll expand the committee a little bit. We didn't have enough to play 6v6 down there. We need a couple new guys.
There we go. I'll have a chance.
Oh, we need a goalie.
All right, so thanks a lot, Nuge, for taking out the time. Any last words you want to say?
I think we've pretty much covered it. We've gone through everything step by step. We didn't talk about HUT once, so I appreciate that.
Oh,
and
I'm not a fan.
It's been a good time.
That was my chat with NugeTV. He's a really great guy. I'll leave a link to his channel and Twitch below. Check it out when you have the time. He plays for the #1 Sixes Club on 360, so if you want to watch the best EASHL players, definitely give his channel a shot. And it's great to have someone who takes EASHL competitively on the GameChangers program. I just want to give my last thoughts on what we talked about. Once again, on the preset classes, I do think it's a step in the right direction, but I don't think it's the final answer. I believe there needs to be some more customization. If we can't control our height and weight, the only good thing I can see from that is no more 6'9" giant goalies. Speaking of goalies, at least I did get one tiny piece of information out there about goalie interference. I hate it when goalies skate out to try and draw penalties, but I love beating goalies that do that, so hopefully they can fix that in time. The fact that they can't say anything about goalies does mean that they are working on it, so in this case, no news is good news. Overall, I like the new direction for ESHL, but I'm cautious about it as well. For OTP, I can deal with NHL rosters as long as EA is planning to bring your pro over. If it stays as NHL rosters, in my opinion that does hurt ESHL, because I can see some people just preferring to use the NHL superstars over their average Joe pro. I'm curious to see how this new hop feature that Nuge was talking about works. I'm pretty sure I understood what he was talking about, but I think it's one of those things that I need to use and see firsthand to figure out when to use it situationally. I'm sorry about the audio. It was my first time recording a Skype call, so hopefully it wasn't too bad. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I did my best to ask questions that I haven't seen elsewhere. I'll leave my Twitch and Twitter links in the description as well. I'm just into gaming, and thanks for watching.